Shalom everyone. It's been over 2 years since I did my first video on this subject, so quite the gap between this second video to finish it off. So first of all, sorry for that. This is live right now on Facebook. I will upload this to my YouTube channel, of course, which is Way of the Most High. I'm going to show that to you in a second here. But before we get to that, just wanted to say that I hope all of you are enjoying this first moon cycle of the scriptural year. Today's Roman date being 4/13/2023, and the scriptural calendar, the first moon cycle, the 22nd evening. So this would be the official end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Sabbath that completes that. So from here we would count for 7 weeks towards the wheat harvest. So next Sabbath will be the first completed Sabbath towards the 7 weeks of the wheat harvest. Getting back to our subject here, today we're going to talk about learning Aibreet. Aibreet being the word for Hebrew. All right, we're going to show you, this was the first video that I had done, and we had covered the letters Al through Tet. So if you haven't seen that, you'll want to check that one out so that you can at least learn the first half of the Al Beit, or the house of letters, to understand, okay? You can find that on my channel. Just to show you, this is my channel here, Way of the Most High. Very simple. And the document that we're going to be using for our study today is this one here, called Al Beit. And I'll just show you, this is my website section for learning Aibreet for those who are truly interested in learning the original language of Scripture. Okay, so you can read through that page. I've also posted for the first 5 chapters I've created for the Torah of Yahuwah. This is an extensive work that I'm doing, so it'll take me a while to get through the rest of the Torah. But just to give you some idea, lots of descriptions and stuff. The Al Beit is also in that as well for people to learn. But let me give you an example here. This is what it's going to look like. So Bereshit in the modern Masoretic, then we've got the ancient text, Bereshit, the English name, and this is our first chapter. So Paleo on the left, modern Masoretic in the center, and then the English literal translation on the far right, as well with some transliteration for helping people to pronounce different words. Be a little bit of commentary at the bottom. So if you're interested in the Torah, check out the Torah of Yahuwah on my website. Secondly, just wanted to show you here, if you scroll down on my page, the importance of Aibreet. Again, I'll post these links on my YouTube channel in the description. But there it is, the Al Beit names and vowels. If you wanted to click on that, it brings you to this document here. And as I said, we've already been through the letters Al through Tet, basically the first half of our letters there, or close to. And we're going to be using the When I show you the verses, I'll be using the Mechon Mamre. Okay, that's from mechonmamre.org. You can find this. This is Genesis chapter 1, just to give you an example. Got the modern Masoretic one side, the English on the other. For those of you who want to get yourselves a Hebrew to English Torah, my suggestion is the Hebrew to English Torah by Varda Books, which you can find on Amazon. All right, so to make this simple for you guys, we'll just be looking at my laptop screen. And so the last one we left off on was Yood. Now, I don't know of any other website or person teaching Aibreet or Hebrew that actually has a scriptural text for every letter, to give you an example. But that's what we're doing, okay? So, praise Yah, Solo Brew. Glad to have you with us. We're covering the letters Yod through Tau. So the last half of the Aibreet. So let's get into it. As you can see here, this letter Yod looks like a bent hand, or arm and elbow and hand. This is the Yod. This is the word for arm or hand. It's commonly written as Yod. So if you simply pronounce from the Yod, okay, because this word is made up of two letters. So the first one being Yod, the second one being a letter that we already covered in the last video, which is Dal. Simply Dal, Dal Lamed. Sometimes the Tau is present to make it Dalat. In this case, we've got Yod, which is spelled with Yod Dalat. Okay, so this is a very simple word, and this first appears in Bereshit, which is Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. Okay, so we're going to take a look at Genesis 3:22. Very easy, just scroll to the bottom, check which chapter you want. And we'll scroll down to verse 22. Vayomer Yahweh Elohim, and Yahweh said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know right and wrong. And those words are right here. Very simple. The word tub meaning wonderfulness or great. And this letter wa there is the and, wa rai, word for evil, or to see. It literally means to see. Okay, so knowing right from wrong. And now, lest he put forth his hand. This is the word that we're going to focus on here. So your first letter there is Yod, second letter is Dal, and the last letter Wa. The Wa at the ending, with the Masoretic dot at the top for the O sound, I pronounce this as Yadu. Commonly it's Yado. And this letter Wa at the end means that it's his hand. So our focus is on these two letters here, Yud. So lest he put forth his hand, and also take of the tree of life and eat, and live forever. So Yah puts a barrier. He drives him out and places the Karabim, which is this word here, places the karabim with the flaming sword at the way of the tree of life. This word here is drak, which again goes back to my name of my website, The Way of the Most High. So it's following the path, or the way. Dal, Rash, Chet. Okay, get back to our study here. So that's the meaning of the letter Yod. Now I'm moving to the letter Kap. Now this letter here, as I've shown people before, has been found all throughout Saudi Arabia Peninsula. And it's the letter for the sole of the foot, or the palm of the hand. Okay? Our Kap is the palm of the hand or the sole of the foot. And that's because they engraved that throughout Saudi Arabia to exemplify the fact that Yah said that everywhere the palm of your or sole of your foot walks shall be yours. It's your inheritance. Okay, so Kap is the palm of a hand or sole of a foot. For those of you who are interested, once again, that's from the Exodus case, which I'm talking about, where they've done archaeology pertaining to the Exodus throughout Saudi Arabia. Okay, we're going to get to the usage of this letter as an actual word, exemplified in Bereshit, Genesis 8, verse 9. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot. And there's our word right there. The letters Kap and Pe. Very simple. This lamed here in front of it means for. It's translated literally as for in the English text, for the sole of her foot. For the Kap, ragla. That's the word for foot there. Ragla. Okay, so she found no rest for the sole of her foot. So very simple. Kap is simply the palm of the hand or the sole of the foot. And we will go to, feel free to comment on my video or ask a question at any point. If I don't have time to answer it in the actual teaching of this and posting to the YouTube, I will do my best to answer in the comments and so on and so forth. Okay, we're going to go on to the next letter here. This is Lamed. Now, this is a shepherd's staff. And this was used for goading or leading the flock. Okay. It's also used for teaching or leading in truth. I'll give you an example here from the Berim, which is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1. Let's take a look. Again, for those of you who joined us, we're using machonmamre.org, the Hebrew to English. Was that what I wanted? Oh, sorry, I went to 8 verse. Deuteronomy 8 verse 1. All of the commandment which I And now, O Yisrael, listen unto the statutes and unto the ordinances which I teach you. Let's see here. To do them, that you may live, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh, the mighty one of your fathers, gives to you. Valti, so basically that's what we're doing right now in this lesson is kind of giving you an idea as to how these terms, letters are used. So we're going to look at this one here. In this case, this is a practical use of the letter Lamed. This is our first letter there. Lamed, Mem, Dal. Lamed. So as you can see, it's clearly used in the English, which I teach you to do them. So guard, Shemai. First we have the Chakim. Chakim is the statutes. And then this word here, Meshpetim. Meshpetim being the judgments, which even I, and then this first letter here, Mem, is a prefix. It means from. From teaching, or which I will teach unto you. Okay, so there's a practical use of the word lamed. I've given you the sounds as well for each of these in the description. Either l or la, connected to the mem making m, and then dal, or dalat commonly. Lamed, very simple. Okay, next letter is mem. Very easy to see that this letter looks just like waters. And that's what this means, is water. So this is spelled mem, Yood, mem, normally. We're going to have this example here in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. V'ha'aratz, and the land was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the waters. Sorry. The word for the deep is tehum, and the waters is the last word in our text. Is over the face of the waters. So al panei hameim. So mem, yad, mem. Mayim. Mayim. So very interesting when you look at this with mem, and we've already covered the letter yud in this video as well. So what is this? The waters, the hand upon the waters. So Yah moves over the waters with his hand. Kind of interesting when you look at the picture letters and you combine them together. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it's hard to find an actual meaning just looking at the pictures. But then, of course, that's why we have the context of the verses that we're looking at. So we're going to move on now to the letter Nun. This is just the picture of a seed that is sprouting. And so that's what that means. The letter Nun is a picture of a seed that is sprouting. And this is why Scripture refers to your inheritance, your sons, as the seed, perpetual. So this can be either a plant seed or referred to as a human seed or sperm. This is used also for the name of Yahushai, Joshua, commonly, son of Nun. So Nun actually became a name, being the seed. So a practical example of this is going to be found in Shemot, Exodus chapter 17, verse 9. So then Moshe said to Yahushai, Joshua, choose out us men and go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of the mighty one, Elohim, in my hand. There's another use of what we've already covered. So the yod at the end of yod is my. So this yod ending in yadi, so there's hand, my, beit is in my hand. But let's go to what we're looking at, which is hope I've got the right reference there. Exodus 17:9. Okay, I'll come back to that one after. I might have typed that up wrong. So if you come up with a practical example of the word for noon, let's see if we can find a concordance. Sorry for the delay or the typo there. Normally the word for seed is zerai, so that's where things can get tricky with the concordance because it won't actually give you the letter and the usage of the word nun. But we're going to see, maybe I'll come back to that after. So I'd obviously put that there thinking that nun was in there in reference to Yahushua or Joshua. But I'll have to get back to that one. So move on with Samek. So this is your Samek. And this first appears in Genesis 27, verse 37. Okay. And Yitzchak, Isaac answered and said unto Esau, to Esau, Behold, I have made him your ruler, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what then shall I do for you, my son? So this is what we're looking at right here, which is Samek Mem Kab. So that's your root word. And then Tiu means unto him. So Samek Tiu. So in this case, it was used for giving to him. So that's a word, Samek. So Esau is sustained with wine. And this picture is a picture of a crutch or a support. It is also used as the word thorn or to grab or to hate. So we'll take another example, a second one for a better look at Leviticus 4 verse 4. And he shall bring the bull unto the door of the tent of meeting before Yahuwah, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of the bullock and kill the bullock before Yahuwah. Okay, so this one's a little more practical. Basamek at Yadu, and he shall lay, or to grab hold of, at his hand. So this word at is a literal word at. Literally means a direct pointer to, in this case, his hand. Okay, so there's a more practical example of the use of samek. I hope I'm not rushing through these too quickly. Some of these are very detailed, so again, if you go through my document on Aibreet, there is much more detail to them. But we're just going through these for the purposes of giving an interesting video for people to see. A lot of people have troubles with this part actually seeing it within the text and so forth. So I thought this would be helpful. Letter Ayin. Ayin is literally the picture of an eye. This is where we get the English word eye from, I believe. That's just my belief. And it's a guttural sound, so it makes the I sound. So this is why you'll find that I pronounce things with the sound I instead of just an ah sound as in al. Okay, that difference is not made in Masoretic. So you guys decide for yourself what you think is more reasonable. So in any case, sometimes it's vowel pointed as an O as well. I'm not exactly sure how they would get an O out of the letter ayin, but a practical example of ayin. We'll go to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 16, verse 7. And the messenger of Yahuwah found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. There's the word, right there. So we've got Ayin, Yod, Nun. That's what spells Ayin. And in this case, Ayin refers to the fountain or well, depending on what translation you have, of water in the wilderness. And of course it mentions this word again, Ha'ayin. The Ha prefix or He prefix means the fountain of water. B'darak Shur. Again, there's that word darak, path. This is in the path, or to the path of Shur. Okay, so there's a practical example of Ayin. Now, why is it, you might be wondering, why is it the symbol of the eye and referring to a well or a fountain? And this is because the well or spring or fountain, the Ayin, was considered the eye of the desert, providing tears of water for people. And here's Hagar, and you can imagine how sad she was, and she comes to this place and she's pretty much crying in prayer. So it's understandable how this all relates as you picture it. I'm sure maybe you've never heard this stuff before, but that's the picture we get. I'm going to move on to the next letter here. This is the open mouth or Pei. Okay, the practical example we're going to look at is Genesis chapter 4, verse 11. Okay, Genesis 4, verse 11. And now cursed are you from the ground, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. So this is the root word, which is Pei, simply Pei Yod. It's translated as mouth, and you'll notice it has this He at the end. That's for her. Okay, so her mouth. So the ground is referred to as a female thing, the arats. Cursed are you from the ground that has opened her mouth. In this case, the word for ground is actually not arats, but adameh. The root word being Adam, of course everyone knows Adam, as the ground in the feminine form with the letter He at the end. Okay, so the ground has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from the ground. From your hand. Okay, so very interesting that the ground opens its mouth to swallow the blood of Hebel. Just like the sword is said to have had two mouths or two edges, peyut. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy 13, verse 16, just to give you an example of that. Deuteronomy 13:16. You shall certainly smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge or mouth of the sword, chrab. This letter lamed in front of pe is your for prefix for the mouth of the sword, or by the edge of the sword, with the edge of the sword. Yeah, so there's your practical example of, you've got the mouth of the ground, you've got the two mouths or edges of the sword, and I suppose that they referred to the edges of the sword as mouth or mouths, peyut, because the sword swallows life. Is it not? It kills, it swallows life. So next letter here, the letter tzadi. Tzadi. I know that this one's a bit difficult in terms of design, but this is to trap. So it would be like a trap that somebody catches their foot in, or when a person is lying in wait to catch somebody. Okay. In the case of the ark, which Noach, being commonly Noah, was instructed to build, there was a window in the side of the ark. So this is what's translated, or practical use of tzadi in Genesis 6 verse 16. Genesis 6 verse 16. A light will you make to the ark, and to a cubit you shall finish it upwards, then the door of the ark you shall set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories. So this is the word that we're looking at here. Simply tzadi and dal, or dalet. Tzad, dalet. And the hey. Hey at the end is just the female or feminine part of it. In this case, it's the window that is considered feminine. That's the word patach. So patach means an opening. The door you shall set in the side of the ark. So there's a practical use of this letter tzad or tzadi. So tzad at its basic root was used for the opening. So it can also be used for trapping or hunting. The next letter we're going to look at is the letter kop. Now this is actually a picture of the sun at the land's end. So when the sun is going down beyond the land's end, beyond your sight of vision, your perspective at evening. Of course, Masoretic does not pronounce it as kop. They pronounce it as kof with an F. They do not pronounce the letter P as P. So I've explained some of these things in my document here as well. The practical example of kop we can find in Shemot or Exodus chapter 34, verse 22. Exodus 34:22. And you shall observe the Feast of Weeks, even the first fruits of the wheat harvest, which we are doing right now, and the feast of ingathering at the turn of the year, commonly known as the equinox. This is when daytime is equal to nighttime. So again, looking at that picture of the sun at the land's end, we've got daytime and nighttime, a line in between. Okay, that's the letter Ko, but looking at the actual Aibreet or Hebrew, I'll show you it right here. Commonly pronounced as Tekufa. We have the tau ending, so that's a T sound. Tekupet. Tekupet. So our root word here is the kop, the wa, and the pe. The tau is simply a prefix and an ending in this case. So our root word is kop, wa, pe. In this case refers to the equaling of daytime and nighttime in the year. So this is why it's important to pay attention to the first new moon that comes at the Tekupa. So this is a practical example of calendar observance as well as some Aibreet or Hebrew for you. Hope that's been helpful. Just got 2 more letters to go, and then we'll get back to the letter Nun. See if we can find something better there, and I'll edit my document after. So again, sorry for that. Look at the letter Rash. Very clearly you can see it looks kind of like hair, and then there's the nose and the neck. This is the head. So Rash means head. This one's one of the easier ones. I mean, the picture pretty much describes itself. The usage of it, we're going to look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 10. And a river went out of Aidan, which is this word here, Ayin Dal Nun, Aidan. So Aidan is actually probably a common name that most of you might have heard from a boy. A lot of boys are called Aidan. It's pretty close to here. Aidan went out of Aidan to water the garden, and from there it was parted and became 4 heads. And that's the word that we're looking at here, which is right there. These 3 letters, simply Rash al Shin. Rash al Shin. We've covered the letter Al in our first video, which means the ox. The head of the ox, and then this next letter here, we're going to get to that next, Shin. The Yod and the Mem ending is your plural form. So Rashim, translated as heads. Okay, so we've got these 4 river heads, referred to as Rashim. Naturally, you can see that the one river goes out of Aidan and it leads to the other 4. So Rashim is also used as leaders or fountainheads. And it's also used for the head or the chief or the beginning. So this is why we've got Barash, it, the Yod Tau ending, meaning beginning. So Brashit. Now, we'll just take a look at Genesis 8:5, just to give you another example. on over to Genesis 8, verse 5. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops or heads. Here it's in the plural form. We simply have Rash with the Yod ending being the plural form. Rashe. Rashe. The tops of the mountains or heads of the mountains were seen. So literally this flood had covered the mountains, and it wasn't until the 10th month that the heads or tops of the mountains were seen. All right, next we'll go to the letter Shin. Shin is a picture of the two front teeth. These are your crushing molar teeth, or the teeth that crush. Oops. Sorry guys, we'll have to wait. I forgot to plug my laptop in, so I'll have to reboot. While we're waiting for my computer to reboot, did anyone have any questions on what's been going on so far? See if I can find. One sec. Okay, my computer's rebooting there. Just gonna have a glass of water here. Hope you've all been enjoying the lesson. Again, a lot of these paleo letters have been found in archaeology and in the different scrolls. And if you haven't checked out the Writing of God by Mike Jones, pretty decent stuff. Okay, and we are back. Okay, so the shin is the picture of the crushing molar teeth, meaning to press. It's also used for the word to. But we're going to look at Bereshit, Genesis chapter 49, verse 12. If you're using a King James or whatever, the versing might be off on some of the things that I've put in my documents. So again, I refer back to the Hebrew to English. You guys want to pick that up if you don't already have it. Or again, just use the Machon Mamre website. I'm pretty sure this is one just to make sure. Oh, 4912. 4912. This one's really simple. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. And there's your root word there is shin, simply shin, nun. And this yud mem ending is your plural form. So shanim being the plural form of teeth. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth shall be white with milk. Interesting, the word for milk is the word chalab, which literally means fat. Okay, that's a practical use of shinim or teeth or plural, something that is in the plural form. And our last letter is the letter tau. I don't like the way that this one looks like a cross. The original one looks more like an X. The reason why tau was found as crossed sticks was because this was used as a sign or a mark or a monument, and quite often it was used to mark a place of uncleanness or to designate a place that people should not be going because of a dead body or for some other reason of uncleanness. Okay, it's pretty much like X marks the spot. That's what tau is. So Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 34, verse 8. Give you a practical example. Numbers 34, verse 8. From Mount Hor, you shall mark out a line unto the border of the entrance of Chemet, and the goings out of the border shall be at Tzadada. So they did not transliterate these ones very well. So there's last word I pronounced there was Tzadada. Tzadi Dalet Dalet Hey. They pronounce this as Zadad. You can see that there's differences. So in any case, our example here, our root word is tau. Tau al wa. And the first tau in front of it is a prefix, which means, well, they translate this in the English there as out a, or to mark out. Okay, so this is used for marking. In this case, we're talking about the borders, or the goings out, or entrances, or exits of the borders, or line. Okay, so that's what tau is. It means to mark something, to make a distinction. It's a sign. I'll give you another example from Deuteronomy 14, verse 5. Mm-hmm. The hart, the gazelle, the roebuck, and the wild goat, and the pygarg, and the antelope, and the mountain sheep. There's watau. So the hart, the roebuck, wild goat, pygarg, the antelope, and this tau here probably means the mark of the mountain sheep. It's kind of a sign. These mountain sheep have quite great horns. Could also be reference to the stripes. Of the antelope. make it a distinguishable animal. Okay, so basically that is our lesson so far. If you give me a minute here, I'm going to try to see if I can find a more practical example of noon. It's kind of difficult to find because it's, I wonder if I can do it on my Concord. Okay, I'll have to probably get back to you guys on an example of noon as I revise my document. But so far I've given you guys examples of every letter from Al through Tau. So I'll find something else and put it in the description when I post this on my YouTube. I hope that this has been helpful to teach you guys some prefixes, some suffixes, some root words, and the symbols that were used in ancient Aibreet to picture, describe, these very picturesque words that each of these letters obviously represents in the Al-Bayt. We don't find that in English. The letter Al is simply in Greek, it's alpha, and so on and so forth. It's not representative of anything. Whereas in the Al-Bayt, in Aibreet, in Hebrew, each letter represents a picture. And those pictures put together like hieroglyphics form picture words. So I hope that I've done a fairly decent job of sharing at least a few of those with you guys. It's been a long time since I've produced much of a teaching video on my YouTube channel, so if you watch this on YouTube in the future, I hope that you'll hit like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Feel free to email me at followya@gmail.com. And I encourage each of you to learn the language of Scripture, or at least put in an effort to understand the descriptions, the depth of what Yah has given us in the Torah, in Genesis to Deuteronomy. So for now, we'll end our teaching. I pray that you all have a wonderful first month of this scriptural year. And as we pay attention to the moon, this was the half moon for today. Next week, the last crescent will be the last Shabbat, or Sabbath of this moon cycle. We'll be observing the new moon. As always, I'll do my best to see if I can find it and cite it and share with everyone. So to the online community, praises be to Yah Most High. May He guide you in understanding His Torah, the scriptures given to us al pei Moshe, from the mouth of Moshe. Shalom.